How are you?
I'm great.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know.
What's your name?
My name's Darci Lynne.
Okay, and Darcy, who's that?
My name's Petunia.
We talk.
Is it a bunny?
Yes.
Is that a real bunny? Well, we're going to find out.
Darci Lynne Farmer, the young ventriloquist from America's Got Talent, has come a long way since her first golden buzzer. Now, she lives a little differently from what people would expect. The truth is, she's no longer just the singing puppeteer. She has excelled greatly since her groundbreaking win on AGT.
America, here is your winner. America has voted the winner of the $1 million and the star of the headline show in Las Vegas, Darci Lynne!
Her fandom has extended greatly as more people are getting to witness her on stage and feel her magic. While many people remember her just as the little girl with the puppet, she has become more than that. How did she do it? Stay relevant in a world that mostly remembers her as a former champion. Join us as we remember singing sensation Darci Lynne and find out what she's been up to. The $1 Million Winner. When Darci Lynne Farmer won America's Got Talent, even she couldn't believe it. It felt like a dream, beating grown-up performers and internet-breaking singers on one of the biggest stages in the world. That night, she walked away with $1 million and a new record. That was only the first of more million-dollar feats. Today, her net worth is estimated to be somewhere between $6 and $8 million, built from her continued work in entertainment after the show. That number tells a story of growth. The show stopped, but Darci didn't. In 2026, she is no longer just the little girl who won a GT. Far from it. That version of her still exists in people's memory, but it is not the full picture anymore. Over time, she has moved into a different space. She kept her shine, but not with the anxiety that plagues growing child stars. She did hers with acceptance. In today's entertainment world, many child stars either disappear or struggle to redefine themselves. Darci Lynne sits in a middle ground. She is still known, still working, and still respected for the exact talent that made her famous in the first place. She has even been credited with helping bring ventriloquism back into mainstream attention again. Her name may not dominate headlines every day, but she's still winning, still performing, still doing what she loves and entertaining people with her magical voice and personality. Darci Lynne made it, and here is how she did it. From talent show to career. Darci Lynne's A GT win came with something huger than $1 million, a Las Vegas headlining opportunity. This is something many performers spend years trying to reach. That moment placed her directly into a professional space. Not just a television spotlight, that moment was just the beginning. Within a year of winning, she launched a national tour titled Darci Lynne and Friends Live. The tour started small, but it quickly expanded into more than 50 dates across the United States. It ran through 2018 into 2019, showing strong demand in multiple cities. That first major tour was not just about visibility. It generated over $5 million in revenue and sold more than 100,000 tickets. Can you read the numbers? People were willing to pay to see her outside television. It wasn't just a one-time viral act fans wanted. They wanted the whole deal, and they knew Darci could do more. At the time, Darci was still very young and attending school. There arose the need to balance performance and personal life. This was important because, if done wrongly, it could cripple her budding career and even her very self. This in no way disturbed her performances. Instead of overexposing herself, her team built her career that allowed her to grow slowly and avoid burnouts. Television remained a part of her path, but not like before. She moved from being a contestant to being invited onto shows. She had appeared on programs like Little Big Shots before her AGT win. After winning, she returned, but the status had changed. She got guest spots and made special appearances. She was no longer trying to prove herself. She was already proven. In 2018, she landed her own NBC holiday special, Darci Lynne, My Hometown Christmas. The program reached more than 9 million households, placing her in a position that many reality show winners never reach. A personal television special is not given lightly. It is usually reserved for performers who can hold audience attention on their own. Her career also expanded beyond live performance and television. She entered acting, taking a role in the 2022 film A Cowgirl's Song. Gradually, she was shifting into broader entertainment and exploring her talents. She also continued to return to the AGT stage, but not as a competitor chasing another win. She appeared in spin-offs like America's Got Talent, The Champions, where she reached the finals as a wild card and finished as runner-up. After her first tour, she was non-stop. She launched another tour in 2019 titled Fresh Out of the Box. Years later, she was still touring, including a 2025 national tour and a holiday version of her show. This kind of repeated touring is one of the clearest signs of a stable career in entertainment. She was not left out on social media. She built millions of followers across platforms, giving her a direct connection to her audience. That audience did not depend only on television networks. It allowed her to promote shows, share performances, and stay visible even when she was not on TV. One of the most important facts about her transition is that she stayed within her core identity while expanding slowly. She did not drop ventriloquism immediately to chase something new. She continued using it as her foundation while adding singing, acting, and writing over time. This made her growth feel natural, like the cocooning of a butterfly. She was slowly opening her wings and taking flight. Many young winners struggle because they peak too early and cannot match that first moment again. They revel in a record they are suddenly unable to break or even match again. In her case, the strategy was different. Instead of trying to create a bigger moment than her win, her career focused on maintaining steady work. That approach reduced the pressure of constant comparison to her original success. The image of a shy girl who used ventriloquism to overcome stage fear still remains a part of her identity. But what followed after the win is what shaped her career and her life today. Let's get deeper. Life on the road. The Darci Lynne and Friends Live, launched in 2018, was the first of many live tours. It covered more than 50 cities across the United States and extended into 2019 due to demand. Attendance figures crossed 100,000 tickets sold, with reported revenues exceeding $5 million. These figures placed her among a small group of young performers who successfully moved from a televised platform into consistent, ticketed events. Darci Lynne combined ventriloquism, singing, and scripted comedy segments. Her puppet characters, including Petunia, Oscar, and Edna, were central to the performances. Each character had a defined personality and role within the show, displaying her different personas and giving people a glimpse into Darci herself. There was Petunia, the razzle-dazzle carrot-loving bunny that was defined as a diva on the rise. There was Oscar, more like the shy version of Darci, but with a lot of soul inside. Then there was Edna, the beloved elderly singing puppet that had a thing for Simon. These puppets were so important in Darci's career, they became a part of her identity and fame. Performances were held in theaters and auditoriums rather than large arenas, which is typical for developing touring acts. This allowed for more controlled production costs while maintaining profitability. The venues varied in size, but the consistent factor was repeat scheduling across multiple regions, indicating stable demand rather than one-time curiosity. In 2019, she launched a second tour titled Fresh Out of the Box. This tour continued the same performance structure, but introduced updated material and new segments. The continuation of touring within a short time frame is significant. People were still interested. Fans still loved seeing Darci on stage. That was good for her career. Her touring schedule slowed during the global disruptions in 2020, which affected the entire live entertainment industry. However, she resumed live performances as events reopened, returning to theaters and continuing national tours. By 2025, she was still actively touring, including both general shows and holiday-themed performances. This long span of touring activity reflects sustained audience interest over multiple years. Live performances were a good way to perform and earn extra. Unlike television appearances, which are limited and scheduled, touring provides direct income through ticket sales, merchandise, and meet and greet packages. This model allows performers to maintain financial stability even without constant media exposure. In her case, touring became one of the main ways she converted early fame into long-term earnings. Her shows attract a mix of family audiences and adults who were introduced to her through television. This broad demographic range increases ticket sales potential. Family-friendly content also makes her suitable for repeat attendance, especially during holiday tours. The content of her shows evolved slowly. Early performances relied heavily on the novelty of a young ventriloquist singing complex songs. As she grew older, the focus shifted toward vocal performance quality and character interaction. The puppets remained part of the act, but the balance adjusted over time to reflect her development as a performer. Geographically, her tours remained primarily within the United States. There is limited evidence of large-scale international touring during this period. This focus suggests a strategy centered on maintaining a strong domestic audience base rather than expanding rapidly into global markets. Her continued ability to schedule tours years after her initial appearance on television indicates that her appeal did not depend solely on novelty. Instead, it transitioned into a repeatable live product. In the entertainment industry, this shift from one-time visibility to ongoing ticket sales is a key marker of a sustainable career. By the time she entered her 20s, she was touring professionally. Her appearances made sure she was close to her audience and had more control of her creative story. She was singing and entertaining, but with a different stage. Her television moments were just as special as her tours. Here's why. TV comeback moments. As a young performer on Little Big Shots, Darci got the chance to perform in front of a national audience. This appearance gave her the exposure and needed nerve to climb up to AGT, a platform that would catapult her to worldwide fame. After the show ended in 2017, she began appearing on television in a different capacity. These appearances were no longer competitions. She had already won. It was time to flaunt it with interviews, specials, and guest appearances. One of the most prized steps in this transition came in 2018, when she was given her own NBC special titled Darci Lynne, My Hometown Christmas. This was a one-hour program built around her as the central performer. It featured singing, ventriloquism, and guest appearances. The broadcast reached millions of viewers across the United States. A network television special of this type was proof that Darci Lynne was still fan favorite. She continued to appear in other television specials connected to NBC programming. These included holiday-themed broadcasts and collaborative shows with other performers. These appearances helped maintain her presence on television while keeping her own pace. Instead of being evaluated, she was presented as part of the entertainment lineup. Her return to the AGT stage also became a recurring pattern. She appeared as a guest performer in later seasons, delivering updated versions of her act. These appearances showed changes in her voice and stage control compared to her original performances. Returning as a guest rather than a contestant placed her in a different category within the show's structure. In 2019, she took part in America's Got Talent, The Champions, a spin-off series that brought together winners and notable contestants from different seasons and international versions. In this competition, she advanced to the finals as a wildcard entry and finished as runner-up. This result placed her among a group of returning acts who had already achieved recognition, reinforcing her position within the franchise. Television also provided opportunities outside the AGT brand. She made appearances on talk shows and variety programs where she performed shorter segments of her act. These formats required adaptation. Unlike full-length performances, these appearances were limited in time and focused on quick audience engagement. Her ability to deliver within these constraints contributed to her continued invitations to appear. Another development during this period was the inclusion of her performances in holiday programming cycles. Seasonal specials often rely on performers with broad audience appeal. Her family-friendly style made her suitable for repeated inclusion in such broadcasts. This created a pattern of recurring visibility, particularly during end-of-year programming. Her television work was not continuous throughout every year. There were periods with fewer appearances, which is common for performers who are not tied to a regular series. However, The key factor is that she continued to return to television over multiple years, rather than disappearing after her initial exposure. In addition to performing, her television presence also included interviews and feature segments. These appearances focused on her development since winning AGT, her ongoing projects, and her experiences as a young performer in the industry. This type of coverage helped maintain public awareness even when she was not actively competing or releasing new content. The nature of her television career reflects a shift from dependence on a single platform to selective participation. She did not rely on constant appearances to remain visible. Instead, she appeared in specific programs that aligned with her established image. A great way to stay on stage without getting burned out. It was a good thing that AGT never let Darci go. Her repeated reappearances were always greeted with cheers of joy. It was a grand homecoming every time, and there was always something up her sleeve for her judges. This ongoing link ensured that new viewers of the show were introduced to her performances, even if they did not watch her original season. Television exposure contributed to her credibility as a performer. Being invited back to the same platform where she first gained recognition indicates sustained approval from producers and audiences. It also signals that her performances continued to meet the standards expected for broadcast. Darci Lynne is now a staple name in family television, a clear victory over the fear of irrelevance that comes with child stars. She came on AGT with a winning spirit. Even when she did win, she didn't stop. She's done so much to make her childhood and early adulthood one of great memories. And the best part is that the future is just as bright because Darci Lynne is far from done. Keep watching to know more on the career and wins of Darci Lynne. Taking center stage. Remember Darci Lynne's first audition, where she powerfully performed Summertime using her puppet Petunia? How could you forget? If you haven't seen it, the performance showed breath control, pitch accuracy, and the ability to project while maintaining ventriloquial technique. It was a win for the hidden art of ventriloquy. It was demanding, especially for a little girl with a cute smile, but there was more to her than reached the judges' eyes. Her most powerful asset wasn't her puppets, it was her voice. It was beautiful, unique, and strong. Her vocal development became more noticeable as she aged. Her voice changed in range and tone, which is typical for adolescent performers. Early performances were characterized by a lighter, higher register. Over time, her voice deepened and gained more stability in mid-range notes. This allowed her to expand her song choices beyond the material she used during the competition. Her performances began to include more segments where she sang without using a puppet. It took a while before Darci put the puppets down. In early tours and television appearances, ventriloquism remained the primary format. Gradually, stand-alone vocal segments were introduced into her shows. These segments allowed audiences to evaluate her singing independently from the ventriloquism skill. In other words, they could now listen to her own voice with no puppets attached. She has performed songs from musical theater and classic pop standards, which require controlled phrasing and sustained notes. These genres are often used to demonstrate vocal ability because they rely less on studio enhancement and more on live delivery. Her continued use of these styles indicates a focus on technical singing rather than trend-based music. In 2022, she released original music, including a single titled Push Our Luck. Darci Lynne was now a solo singer. Studio recording differs from live performance in that it allows for multiple takes and post-production adjustments. However, it also requires consistency in tone and timing. Releasing original music placed her in a different category.
I chose Push Our Luck as the first single amongst the other songs I had written, and it felt the most authentic.
Moving from performance interpretation to content creation. Her acting role in the film A Cowgirl's Song also included vocal performance. In the film, she played a character involved in country music, which required adapting her voice to a different style. This introduced another genre into her work, expanding beyond the musical theater and standard repertoire she used earlier. Despite these developments, ventriloquism remained part of her identity. Instead of removing it completely, her performances began to balance both elements. Some segments focused on character interaction, while others focused on direct vocal performance. This structure allowed her to retain the skill that made her recognizable, while demonstrating growth in another area. Training and practice contributed to this development. While specific details of vocal coaching are not always publicly documented, maintaining performance quality over multiple tours and television appearances requires ongoing vocal management. This includes rehearsal, range maintenance, and adaptation to different performance environments. During her AGT performances, the focus was often on the novelty of singing without moving her lips. As her career progressed, more attention was given to the quality of the voice itself. This change reflects a move from novelty-based evaluation to skill-based evaluation. Her ability to transition between voices during ventriloquism was the coolest and hardest part. Each puppet character has a distinct vocal tone and style. Switching between these and her natural voice within a single performance requires control over pitch, accent, and timing. It was a testament of hard work and a certificate of mastery. The inclusion of non-ventriloquism singing segments changed her set design during tours. Her voice change made her step out of her puppets and give her own voice a chance. While she did not transition fully into a mainstream pop career, she established the ability to perform both as a ventriloquist and as a singer. This inspiring feat didn't start once upon a minute. It goes way back to a time of fears, potentials, and family. Let's take a look. Fame without the chaos. Darci Lynne Farmer was born on October 12, 2004, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. She grew up in a family environment that remained consistent before and after her appearance on television. Her parents, Clark and Misty Farmer, have been involved in managing aspects of her early career, particularly during the period immediately following her AGT win. Family involvement is common for young performers, especially those under the age of 18, as it provides structure and oversight in professional decisions. Her early interest in performance began with shyness. According to her background, she started ventriloquism as a way to overcome stage fear. This detail remained part of her public narrative even after she became widely known. It shaped how audiences perceived her personality, not as someone seeking attention, but as someone gradually adapting to it. Education continued alongside her career during her teenage years. Balancing school and touring required scheduling adjustments, which limited the number of performances she could take on at certain times. Unlike some young entertainers who shift entirely into full-time entertainment, her path included maintaining aspects of a standard upbringing during her early career. Her place of residence has remained tied to Oklahoma, rather than relocating permanently to major entertainment centers like Los Angeles or New York. Remaining based in Oklahoma City contributed to a lower level of constant media exposure. It also allowed her to maintain distance from the day-to-day environment of the entertainment industry. Public records and media coverage show no major legal issues, scandals, or public disputes associated with her name. This absence is notable when compared to the experiences of some other child performers whose personal challenges become part of their public image. In her case, media attention has stayed focused primarily on her work rather than her personal life. Her public image has consistently aligned with family-friendly entertainment. This has influenced the types of opportunities available to her, including television specials and live tours aimed at broad audiences. Maintaining this image requires consistency in both public appearances and personal conduct, particularly during adolescence when public scrutiny can increase. Religious faith has also been mentioned in her public background. She has been associated with a Christian upbringing, which has influenced aspects of her public persona and performance style. This element is not central to her professional work, but contributes to how she is perceived by certain audience groups. Social media presence is another area where her approach has remained controlled. While she maintains active accounts, the content shared is primarily related to performances, projects, and general updates. Personal details are limited compared to many public figures of her age group. This controlled use of social media reduces exposure to controversy and maintains focus on her professional activities. Her transition from childhood into adulthood occurred while she was already in the public eye. This period can often bring changes in image, behavior, and audience expectations. In her case, the transition has been gradual, without sudden shifts that might attract negative attention. Her public presentation has evolved in line with her age, but without major rebranding or controversy. Industry management also plays a role in maintaining a stable public image. While specific contractual details are not always public, structured management can guide decisions related to appearances, endorsements, and public communication. This support system can reduce the likelihood of unplanned public incidents. Another factor is the type of content she produces. Her performances focus on scripted material, music, and character work, which limits unscripted exposure that could lead to unpredictable situations. This contrasts with performers who rely heavily on reality-based or unscripted formats, where personal behavior is more visible. Her peer group and collaborations have also remained within controlled environments, such as television productions and organized tours. There is limited documentation of involvement in high-risk social environments, often associated with entertainment industry controversies. The absence of major public incidents over several years suggests a consistent approach to both personal and professional boundaries. While complete privacy is not possible for a public figure, the available information indicates that her personal life has not been a central focus of media coverage. This pattern has contributed to a stable reputation. Instead of cycles of attention driven by controversy, her visibility has remained linked to her work. For audiences and industry partners, this consistency can increase reliability when considering long-term projects. By maintaining a private and controlled personal life, she has avoided many of the disruptions that can affect young performers. This stability supports continuity in her career, allowing her to focus on performance and development rather than managing public crises. Don't go yet. There's more to Darci Lynne you won't want to miss. Growing up in the spotlight. When Darci Lynne Farmer won America's Got Talent in 2017, she was 12 years old. At that age, her identity in the public eye was clearly defined. She was seen as a talented performer with an unusual skill, supported by a narrative of shyness and discovery. As she moved into her late teenage years and early 20s, that identity began to change. Physical and vocal development played a direct role in this transition. Her stage presence also changed. Early performances were marked by visible nervousness and reliance on structured routines. Over time, her delivery became more controlled and less dependent on fixed patterns. This change is typical for performers with repeated live experience, as familiarity with stage conditions reduces performance anxiety and increases adaptability. The content of her performances adjusted alongside her age. Material that suited a 12-year-old performer was gradually replaced or modified to fit an older audience perception. This included changes in song selection, pacing, and the tone of comedic segments. While her shows remained family-friendly, the presentation became less centered on novelty and more focused on execution. As she grew older, that factor became less relevant. Audiences began evaluating her based on consistency and quality rather than age-related contrast. This shift required maintaining performance standards without relying on the same initial advantage. By the time she entered adulthood, she already had experience in touring, television, and recording. Public image management remained consistent during this period. There were no abrupt changes in branding or presentation. Instead, adjustments were gradual. This approach reduced the risk of alienating her existing audience while allowing for natural progression. It also aligned with the type of content she produced, which remained within a similar genre. Her involvement in different areas of entertainment, including acting and music, contributed to a broader professional profile.
Since I've been such on a music high right now, that is a new endeavor of mine, I was like, well, wait, this might be kind of cool to introduce a new avenue while still doing my ventriloquism, just kind of like coming out with a new facet of myself and just not going on and doing the same old thing.
These additions did not replace her original act, but provided alternative formats for performance. Expanding into multiple areas can support long-term career stability, particularly for performers who began in a specialized field. The transition from child performer to adult entertainer often includes a period of reduced visibility as audiences adjust to the new image. In her case, visibility remained relatively stable due to continued touring and periodic media appearances. This continuity helped maintain recognition during the transition phase. Another factor is industry positioning. Performers who begin at a young age are sometimes reintroduced to audiences through rebranding efforts. In her situation, there is limited evidence of a full rebranding. Instead, her identity evolved within the same framework established during her initial rise. This continuity simplified the transition process. Her skill set also contributed to stability. Ventriloquism is a specialized performance art with a smaller number of practitioners compared to other entertainment fields. This reduces direct competition and allows for a more defined niche. Maintaining proficiency in this area while expanding into singing and acting provided both specialization and flexibility. By her early 20s, she was no longer categorized primarily as a child star. Her career activities, including touring and recorded work, aligned more closely with those of adult performers. However, the early stage of her career remained part of her public identity, continuing to influence audience perception. The long-term impact of growing up in the spotlight depends on how well the transition is managed. In this case, the available information indicates a gradual adjustment rather than a disruptive shift. The combination of consistent work, controlled public exposure, and incremental development supported this process. Her progression reflects a structured transition rather than a sudden change. Each stage of development built on the previous one, allowing for continuity in both performance and audience recognition. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.